Ladies and gentlemen, are you tired of getting to the end of a campaign in a strategy game and thinking, I wish I could conquer more. I wish the conquest kept going. Why does it have to stop when I've conquered this map they've given me? And at the same time as desiring that, do you also wish you had repetitive strain injuries on your fingers? Well, if both of those apply to you, you're really gonna like the new game from the OfficiallyDevin channel. Known only as ConquestClicker, the file your computer will insist is a virus. But I will insist otherwise. Once the game is running, you'll see this amazing launcher to get started for ConquestClicker. And if you don't know what a clicker is, then you probably won't know to ignore this. A clicker is a game where basically you only have to click to advance the game. Click on something on the screen at the very least. So when it launches, it shows you all these controls. This is just something from the default settings of Unity. I can see how you get rid of it. So it's there. Do ignore the fact that there are controls. There's no fire button. There's no submit button. Ignore that entirely. You can actually change the resolution. I recommend the maximum possible resolution to increase the immersion when you're playing this high quality clicker game. You can change the graphics quality. I don't know if that does anything. Better leave it on fantastic. So you want the graphics to be the very least fantastic. And so let's play the game. So let's have a little look at ConquestClicker, my new gaming project. It's truly a great game in my non-accurate opinion. So what you need to do in ConquestClicker, the whole idea is to conquer your way through various tiers. That's sort of like a tier being the sort of scale of the thing you're conquering. So here we are at the start of the game, and the scale of the thing that you're going to be conquering is pretty low. So for example, we're currently conquering this area near a radiator. So let's quickly go through the actually complicated looking UI, because I've actually managed to get a little bit of depth into this clicker, and we'll possibly see that come out as we go through this demonstration / tutorial. Oh, and of course I'll be giving the game for download. I'll put a download link in the description or something. I don't know where I'm going to upload it to, but there might be a limit on how many people can download it, so let me know if it's not working or whatever, if the link just says you can't have it. Have a go with ConquestClicker yourself, although first watch this, because this will truly convince you to play the game and introduce you to how it works. So we have this thing called a stage, which doesn't apply right now. We'll ignore that for now and look at your army. So in most clickers you have a mechanic where you'll progress through the game without having to click, and that's what the army is in this case. So this is like automatically reducing the health of the thing you have to conquer. This number up here is like essentially the health. It's the conquest of the thing you have to conquer, and your objective is to get those numbers to go down to 0, which will complete the conquest of the thing you're looking at. So the size of your army determines how quickly that just goes down on its own without clicking it. So right now it's really slowly, like we've got this one guy that we've hired, and he's slowly conquering this radiator for us. He's putting flags on it. He's setting up borders around it. He's making this radiator ours, and we can actually upgrade right from the start. So you spend money in order to upgrade the size of your army, and we'll see how we get money as we go on. But of course it is a clicker, so the main feature is going to be the clicking. And that's where this thing down here comes in, the Conqueror. This is you, essentially. So you have a level. This Conquest power is how much Conquest will go down every time you click. So we currently have a Conquest power of 5. It's on 10. Clicking brings it it to 5. So it wasn't reduced it by 5. And it gave me 5 Conquest. These are my resource pools down here. And we'll see in a moment that as your army conquers something, you get a portion of the conquest value. So if I just clicked on this thing 5 times, I would have got the 25 conquest. But because I'm letting my army conquer it in this case, in order to punish you for not clicking, it only gives you a portion of it. So you'll see, once it was defeated, I only managed to get up to 12 conquest, even though it was worth 25. I also got a little bit of money. You get money every time you conquer something, and you get glory, which is what this icon's supposed to be, a crown. I was going to replace these crappy icons that I drew with better ones, but they're quite endearing, I think. That this is supposed to be a crown. It just represents how much glory you've gained by conquering things. We have 4 glory for conquering that radiator, and glory is the currency used to level up yourself, which increases your conquest power. We can't do it right now, so I won't demonstrate it. But the thing about glory, and here's a part of the tutorial, is that the longer it takes you to conquer something, the less glory you get for it. So if you conquer something pretty much instantly, like with a one-hit kill, you get glory equivalent to the full health. So I might get 26 glory if I had just conquered this immediately. But the longer you wait, the less glory you're going to get when you conquer it. And you have to keep that in mind for when you're coming up with your min-max strategy for this game. There's a minimum. I think it goes down to like 20% of the total health, and that's the minimum glory you can get from it. So this is a game where if you just never clicked, you would eventually complete it, because you start off with some troops, and you're getting money for defeating or conquering things, which you can use to upgrade your troops as you go along. So you can, in theory, do a no-clicks run of this clicker, which I wouldn't recommend it. I think it would take quite a long time, but the idea is there, so maybe someone can try that out. So anyway, you might have also spotted this thing here that says power multiplier on level up. We might talk more about that later. Basically, when you buy your glory level up, your conquest power is multiplied by this factor, and that factor changes the later you are in the game in order to make it a little bit easier later on, and you can use that to sort of come into a build strategy. You can use how this number changes as you go along to plan your levels up in order to maximize the amount of power you're getting as you go along. Anyway, so let's have a go at doing some clicking, shall we? Look, I'm clicking on things, and as I click on them, we are going through and conquering them. I'm gathering the conquest up. You get a bit of money each time. I'm getting the glory as well, so now I have enough glory to level up. So I'm going to spend 50 glory here, and my power went up by 1. I think there's a minimum amount that your power can go up, so at the lower levels you basically get +1 power every time you level up. But as your power gets to a very large number, this factor will come in more. So the fact that it's to 3 decimal places will matter as well. So the way to progress in the game is to go up through the tiers. There are loads of different tiers representing the scale of the sort of thing you're conquering. So as you conquer, you're collecting the conquest, your primary resource here. And you can see up here, tier up costs a certain amount of conquest. So what I do is get up to that vague amount of conquest in my pool. And now I can basically, you pick something to be your estate. This is like the bit of this tier that you own, and it will generate money for you. So let's say I want to conquer, I want this quiet corner to be my base. I say tier up while looking at the quiet corner, and this becomes my estate. So now, when I finish conquering the thing I'm looking at right now, we go to a new scale of things to conquer. So now we're conquering a whole bathroom. We've really moved up in the world. We're conquering a path outside. Truly, this is much more difficult. And you can see, well, basically where this is going. It will go on and on. You can keep getting conquest. You can keep using your glory to level up. And that will increase your power down there. And you can use the money you're collecting to upgrade your army. And the number of troops will gradually increase, which will increase the speed at which this number is going down. But of course, every time you conquer something, as you may have noticed, the amount of health that the next target has goes up. So it's getting harder and harder as you go along. So there's a kind of resource management balance thing going on here, of trying to maximize the amount of resources you're getting out of each target in order to make sure that, like, by the end of the game, it's not so hard to conquer one target that you just can't do it with the amount of stuff that you've managed to gather so far. And the optimum route through the game basically is going to involve clicking, because this is a clicker after all. So to absolutely maximize your power and make the game as easy as possible and finish it as quickly as possible, you are going to want to click like a madman. So it is of course going to be a test of your clicking skills. So essentially this game is a speedrun contest. It does end. There's a final thing you can conquer, and when it ends, this timer will stop, and you can look at your time and go, that's how long it took me to conquer it, and then you can compare it to your friends, and surely it will be the most important thing in your life, and you will be working day and night to come up with the optimal clicking build and optimal clicking pace in order to both preserve the strength of your hands and conquer things quickly in order to get an amazing time. My best times are in a build that had different balancing, actually. I did it in 13.5 minutes, completed the game, but I think it's harder now. I think I made it a little bit harder, so I'll have to establish what my personal best time is, and I'll post it, and then if you download the game, you can attempt to beat it. And I'm not really sure what the best actual build is. There are different ways of going through the game and picking how many level ups you'll take per tier, and you could get into the real complexity if you want to run maths on this, but I think probably just brute forcing it is the best way to complete this game. And how do you do that? You use this down here. When it says conquer with left mouse button, right mouse button, space and left control, those aren't like all options. You want to conquer with all of these things. And you can also say we have hotkeys for leveling up various things on Z, X and C. So you want to put a finger on control, a finger on Z, a finger on X, a finger on C, a finger on the space bar, and 2 fingers on left and right mouse button. And now you can conquer like a pro. Just press all of them! So you'll be leveling up whenever you have the resources to do so, because you're pressing the level up hotkeys. You'll tier up whenever you have the conquest to do so, and this will make you very powerful. Look how quickly we're conquering things now. Oh god, this world is going to be mine! But we'll leave it there. You can I don't want to spoil the rest of this glorious game. So it conquers on and on, and yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. I'm just wondering if there's any other tips I should give. It doesn't matter what your estate is. The amount of money, you get money every 10 seconds basically. The amount of money you get is based on what tier of the game you're on. It's not based on what it actually is. That's purely for your own personal amusement and cosmetic purposes. You can pick which picture you want. So the optimal route through the game is to just pick whatever's on the screen the moment you have enough conquests, because you want to go through as quickly as possible. But if you're not looking for doing a speed run, then you can enjoy sitting in this apartment building and use it as your base as you go and capture nearby residential avenues, capture this important river crossing. Right now my troops are doing most of the work, I can even upgrade them some more. So when your army is pretty big, you can conquer things. See, I'm not even clicking, I'm conquering things relatively quickly now that I've got a decent army going. But of course, I'm only getting a small amount of the conquest because the army is taking most of it. So this means the health of the things I'm conquesting is going up and up with each conquest, but the amount of conquest in my pool isn't going up all that much, which means it's going to take me a long time to tier up. So by the time I get to the next tier, the health of the enemies will be quite high, at least relative to what it would have been if I'd clicked it through myself. So if I keep going through the game by not clicking, it'll get very difficult to ever start clicking because the enemy's health will get so high. But anyway, you know, I haven't really tested all the routes through it, so there'll probably be different versions and stuff coming out in the future which are a bit more balanced, where different like builds are actually kind of like viable. I'm pretty sure right now the most viable build is to just mash all the keys and level up as soon as possible, but I've tried to put a bit of depth in there so that you can like maximize your conquest clicking power by not leveling up like at all until really late in the game, so that you exploit the fact that the power multiplier goes up. So like take 100 levels up right at the end will give you exponentially more power than leveling up as you go along, because of how this multiplier compounds through the levels up. But anyway, I don't think we really need to get into the technical details of Conquest Clicker, because I'm not sure this is the most hardcore game in the world. Obviously it will be soon, but right now I think we just need to introduce ourselves to this game. So if you have really nothing to do, download it and give it a go. I think like a casual, not clicking all that fast playthrough might take like 20 minutes to half an hour to complete it. And if you're a total pro, you probably would be going for more like 15 minutes. And you want to be clicking like an absolute maniac and destroying your hands. Do keep in mind, it will actually destroy your hands if you click like a maniac for half an hour. So try and pace yourself. Don't keep playing the game if it gets painful, ladies and gentlemen. Don't push yourselves too hard for the sake of Conquest Clicker. Getting that best time might not be worth losing the use of your hands. Well, maybe it is actually, I don't know. I guess we'll find out when something does it. So while I'm here, conquering this mountain road, I thought I'd give an update as to the progress of Total War Devin, or lack thereof, because I've made this, basically. The summary is I made this for the last, I don't know, month or so. This kind of game is really easy to make. I made about 90% of it in the first day, like did all the actual programming, and it was making the user interface and like making the thing scale at different resolutions and making the build size of the final game not be gigantic. All like kind of nitty-gritty details that took all the rest of the time that I spent on it. I say time spent on it. When I say it took me a month, I spent 3 hours per week like doing programming over a month, so it didn't take very long, obviously. But anyway, Total War Devin, yes, I basically progressed it further than whatever it was when I last showed it. It's got a bit of a campaign map now. I think I upgraded some battle features and added some new controls and things like that. But it got to the point when I kept being held back by the fact that I programmed things so amateurishly early on that when I wanted to use these kind of fundamental features I've been making for other things, I was like, I can't do it, but I can see how I could do it if only I'd made it in this superior way, which I now know about later on, because like this Total War Devin was the first thing I made, so it really is just bumbling. So I got to the point when I thought, I have to start again on this in order to continue, because it's just going to lag out, it's going to be like unplayable and impossible to develop because I've done it so poorly at a fundamental level. But I thought what I'd do instead is actually use what I've done so far there to make a simpler game, and I was inspired by playing Fire Emblem on the DS, and I realised that I could make Fire Emblem using what I've made so far, but with like a lot less work. Like it needs a dramatically easier AI and a much simpler user interface as well for a game like that. If you haven't played it, you probably don't know what I mean. XCOM is very similar to Fire Emblem. The same sort of thing where you only have a few units, and the complexity of the game is not in the AI, it's not in the mechanics, it's just in the map design. So there's not very much you can do. The AI will basically just walk at you, and that might be threatening enough. Because you have permadeath or something like that, something to raise the stakes so that even if the AI is being stupid, you still feel under pressure because it might accidentally do something really good against you which would ruin your campaign, that sort of thing. And yeah, using the tools I've got already, I could make that. And what I hope is that if I made it again from the ground up, I would learn a lot more, make it a lot more less laggy, and just learn more things, since it is all supposed to be an educational experience for myself. So I might make a little thing. I was thinking of like a crossover between XCOM, Fire Emblem, Sid Meier's Pirates, and Mount and Blade. So not a thematic crossover, but a mechanical crossover. So taking mechanics from all of those and merging them together into this kind of open world, the tactics strategy game. Already the scope has gone beyond what could ever be done in the few hours a week that I actually have time for programming, but that's just what I was thinking of, so I'll just tinker with it for my own amusement, and you never know, something might come of it, and I'll make another video like this to show it, if something ever comes of that. But anyway, that's not important. What you want to be doing right now is you want to be clicking on the left and right mouse button, the right mouse button if you have one, and hitting space, left control, hitting those hotkeys, upgrading your army, getting your conquerors to be more powerful, getting a massive estate from which you can conquer even greater things. And soon the world will be yours, and hopefully you'll complete the game and you'll see this timer locked at some ungodly low number and think, yes, I truly am the king of conquering. So yeah, post your conquest times if you do manage to complete it in the comments, and I guess you'll be able to see if you're the best. So, I mean, you could just post a low number with no proof. I guess ideally post a link to a screenshot or something if you want to really cement your claim as the best. I don't know, I just work here. So that'll do. I'll see you in the next thing. Yeah, probably. Bye!